Hey guys, Susie here. So I'm just gonna use this video a little bit to tell you the story of what we've done for my daughter the last couple weeks, probably 2, 3 weeks that we've been working on this. And this is more of just kind of letting you guys know how big an impact this has had on us, and if it inspires you or your family or your kids to start their own little e-commerce store too, to not just be able to make a little bit of money, but actually learn the whole process of what is behind earning a dollar. Because I know that kids sometimes are just like, oh, mom, buy that for me. Can I get that, please? Yeah, that's great. That's $60. And you're like, dude, that took a lot of time and effort to make that money. So I want to share with you kind of what we've done with my daughter. And she's finally old enough to do this. And that's why I've never been able to explore this avenue of taking the skills that I don't just teach to my moms, but actually teach now to my children, which is like eye-opening for me. So in short, I want to share with you how my daughter made her first $87 with her own little e-commerce store. Okay, so I'm just going to be talking to you like you're my mom friend. We're both drinking coffee out of the hubby cub. And I just want to chat with you and kind of share with you my heart feelings and go into that. First of all, my daughter loves toys, right? Most kids do. They love toys. She loves plush toys, like very soft ones. She wants to sleep with all of them. Her bed is full of these plush toys. And I think that's awesome. She's very cuddly. She's a great, great girl. And we're talking about my oldest right here. So I started blogging when I was pregnant with baby number 2. There. And this was about 5 or 6 years ago. So I started blogging, trying to find something to do as a stay-at-home mom. I came from corporate, left my job, became a mom, and I wanted to do something so I can help out the family, right? So blogging started taking off for me, did really well. I started teaching my other neighborhood friends and my moms to do it. They started doing well, and now I have an audience of thousands of moms that I love to help. So in my courses, I have over 70,000 moms. So this has been awesome for me to be able to do this. But now like this new door is opening up where I've always had babies, and now that they're growing up and they're starting to read and they're starting to grow into real little people, it's so cool. So my daughter can now read, and she is now asking big girl questions like, Mommy, I want to buy this toy. How can I make my own money? And I'm like, well, that's actually a really good idea, sweetie. I actually teach other people how to do this, so why can't I teach you? And obviously, for a 6-year-old, doing affiliate marketing or writing a 3,000 word long blog posts or creating courses is a little difficult. So I'm like, what can she do that a 6-year-old can do and we can sell? And then this whole uncertain time in the world hit. So we can't really go out and physically go touch or be with people. And she's also still too young to really walk dogs or clean houses or babysit, because she herself needs a babysitter. So we wanted to do a lemonade stand, and it's too high touch and has its own problems and it's limited, right? So I'm like, well, I teach people how to create e-commerce sites, right? And sell their products online. So sorry for all this. I just want to share the story with you. She went through a little crafting book from one of my good crafting bloggers, and I'll link to her below, from Maggie. And she went through her book and found all these cool ideas, looked at paper flowers, and we're like, okay, we can fold paper flowers together and we can start selling them. And we're just going to have a small little audience of just our neighborhood. Our neighborhood has a Facebook group, and they're fantastic. So I knew, okay, I can at least help her make just a little bit of money by advertising it in our neighborhood Facebook group. But then we didn't want to do the lemonade stand because it's too physical. So we decided to create a little e-commerce store for her. So she has her own little e-commerce store where she can create her crafts. I help her, obviously, because I'm a mama. That's what I do. Daddy helped her with the e-commerce store. I helped her a little bit with the craft. She did the cutting and the writing and the tying and all that. I did the hot glue gun and burned my fingers. And then we made her really professional little store where one of my mommy's friends was like, her website looks better than mine. And she's only 6. So we're super proud. And it taught her so many skills. like at 6 years old, we had to somehow figure out how to teach her multiplication, because if she wants to make $30, right? She has to cover $10 for the supplies and $20 for the toy. And we went to the craft store, bought the supplies, and I had to explain, first of all, like also what debt is, because now she's in debt to mommy who bought her supplies for her, and she has to pay mommy back. So those are big concepts that you have to teach by just creating this little e-commerce store. There's so many things that go into, obviously, creating a business. And even though it's so simple, you're selling a craft online, there's so much in it. And I'm like, wow, I'm actually teaching her like debt and supplies and making inventory, then getting customers and getting orders, and then fulfilling those orders and delivering them, and adding a little bit more to your product to up its value. So you can charge, instead of $1 for the flower, you can charge $2, because now it has a little bit more marketing value and it looks prettier and there's more embellishments to it, right? So cool things to teach my daughter. Then, as I was saying, we had to teach her multiplication. Because if she has these flowers, if we sell them for $1 each and we need to make $30, how many do we need to sell? So we had to write that all out. And then if we sell them for $2, how many do we need to sell then? Well, that's 15 flowers. Well, she didn't just get it. I had to actually write all this out on paper. And I'm still learning how to teach multiplication, but in time, I'm going to get better at this. So I'm learning myself while teaching my daughter. And then I'm like, well, if you sell each flower for $10, how many do you have to sell? 10, 20, 33. Let's sell them for $10. I'm like, sweetie, people aren't going to pay $10 a flower. So you have to also be reasonable and understand your market. So this has been such an eye-opening experience where finally I can take the skills that I've been teaching to my moms for these so many years. I can teach to my own children now. And like my world is opened up. And obviously for my daughter too. So we made the flowers and we started selling them. And we advertised to just our little Facebook group in our neighborhood. And I think it looked obviously way more professional by her having a website. There was no issues of people actually purchasing because everything works. It's online. People can put in their credit card information and they can make the purchase. We get the order. We had to make order picking slips, like this address, this name needs this many flowers, this many pink flowers, this many blue flowers, and so on, right? So we had all these like picking slips, and then she had to fulfill them, and we had to drive to each house and go hand deliver them into the mailbox. So it was really like a big process teaching to a 6-year-old how the whole world of business works. So cool. So where I was going on this was some of our neighbors made purchases and they were very generous. So they were, the way we set up her store was the recommended price for a flower, but they could also name their own price. So this works really well, especially if you are thinking about starting an e-commerce store for a child, somebody who's a little younger that you're going to promote to friends and family. They have the ability to not just give $2 a flower, but they can give up to $5, how much they want, right? So they can over give a little bit to show support to your daughter or to your child. So some of our neighbors are awesome. So thank you guys so much if you're watching this. Gave, I think one house bought like 4 flowers and they paid $5 a flower. So we had $20 for one order. So in the end, she sold out of all her flowers because now we need to go make some more. And she made $87. Okay, so she had like, wow, okay, this is how much money I made. So I had to explain to her all like how much 87, like what it looks like. Because numbers are abstract. If you're a grown up, you don't think about it. 5 plus 5, yeah, it's 10. But to a kid, like 2 plus 5, 5 plus 5, like what does that mean? Like what is 5? So it's interesting for me too as a mom to like relearn how to teach this. So we had little pieces of noodles, like raw noodles, and I had to count out 87 pieces, or she helped me, like little groups of 10, and then the last group was 7. And I told her, okay, well, $10 went back to mommy because mommy paid for all the supplies. $20 went to that toy that you wanted. So we purchased a toy and she got that. And if you guys want details of the whole process and how I was teaching her, I'll have a blog post and I can link to it below so you can kind of see the steps that we went through. So she had $57 left, 57 little pieces of noodles. And she's like, well, I have money. I want to buy something because pockets are burning, right? And I'm like, thinking, is she going to save it? Is she going to buy 2 toys or multiple toys? Or is she going to buy one big toy with her $57 that she has left? And so we're going through websites and looking at different toys and what their prices are and seeing how many of this toy she can buy and how many of that toy. And she finally decided, okay, I want this toy. It's $50. I'm like, well, you're going to end up with, how much are you going to end up with? Like, and she has to answer these questions. So it's a lot of learning. Just going through the whole process is very natural. So for me, this is really cool. To all the homeschooling moms and moms that have already done this, you guys are awesome. Like, this is a learning experience for me too. So we're finally deciding on the toy that she wants to buy with the remaining money. And then Daddy yells from the TV. He's like, hey, sweetie, don't you want that Pokemon video game? And she's like, yes, that's actually what I want. So she bought a Pokemon video game from the Switch. It's called something like Let's Go Eevee or something, but it's actually more at her level, and the reading is at her level. So now she thinks she's playing video games, but she's actually reading, because there's text on the screen, easy to read text for a 6-year-old, and she's reading and she's playing her video game, and she bought it herself. So it's really cool. I'm very, very proud of her. It's really been cool to teach her the whole concept of business and how to make your own money. And now she actually went to her younger sister, the one in the middle there, and she's like, this toy is actually mine. I bought this with my own money. All the other toys are mommy's, and she's just letting us borrow them, but this toy is mine. So not to like be like she's possessive, but she feels like she did something. She owns something. She did it herself. So I'm very proud of her. So it's been a great learning process for my daughter and for us as parents to kind of see she's capable of doing this. So if you want to know the process and kind of more about the story of and pictures of what her shop looks like and what we've done for her, there's a link below. Also, if you're thinking this might be something that you want to teach your own kid, of creating their own little e-commerce store and selling crafts online or selling little printable projects or products online, depending on how old they are, they might actually be able to create digital files, and that might even be way easier because there's no inventory then. But regardless of where your child is, this worked for my daughter, and she's 6, and we were able to help her through this. So I do have a course called Printables by Number that both you can use to grow your own business, or you can go through the section of creating your own e-commerce online store and use that for your child. So one last little tip of most of my mamas start their online journey with blogging, right? So what I love about blogging is that if you upgrade a little bit to the higher tier hosting package, you can host multiple websites on one hosting package. So you only pay one fee per month and you can have multiple websites. Ideas, right? You can have your own mommy blog or it doesn't have to be a mommy blog, but you can have your own blog as a mom. And then your child can have their own website that you help them set up and run and all that, depending on how old they are. So on one hosting package, you could have a blog for you, a blog for your kid, a shop for your child, or a shop for you, right? So I'll link to that below too if you want to think about starting your own blog, getting the right type of hosting package, and then so you're able to host multiple websites on one hosting account, and you can really teach your kid and yourself too about this whole online business thing. All right, so a very simple method. Like my daughter sold little craft flowers, made her first $87. She now understands how to make money in a big grand scheme of things, right? So yesterday before I put her to bed, she's like, Mommy, that was a lot of work to make those flowers. And I'm like, yeah, sweetie, it was. She's like, is there an easier way to make money? And I'm like, sweetie, that is what everybody wants to know. So she's starting to grasp the whole concept, and I can see like how her little gears are turning, and it's really fun to teach her this. So if you guys want to teach your kids or do it yourself, links below, leave a comment, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks so much.